All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Herb Strather from Detroit. I am the CEO of Strather Academy. I've got my shirt on today because I'm teaching today. Our presentation today is about investing in Detroit and other urban markets. Detroit is the hottest market in the world by definition. And probably because we went into bankruptcy and things had absolute rock bottom. And that drama was extended somewhat because we had some political issues here. And then we got, all of a sudden, a new mayor, a new council, and just like all other urban American cities all over the world, all over America for sure, we begin to boom. Now, if you're listening to me and you're in any urban area, you know what I'm talking about. All downtowns are hot with millenniums moving downtown, wanting to socialize. Suddenly, all of a sudden, living in suburbia sucks. Nobody wanted to live in a separate community, get in their car and have to go to the retail and then have to drive to the office buildings and have to drive. Everywhere in suburbs, seemingly you have to drive, except downtown suburbs, which is urban. If it's downtown and you can walk out of your door and you can go to the restaurants, city hall, gas stations, dry cleaners, bars, everything that you could walk to, the walkability defines urban Detroit. So right now, Detroit is hot downtown, but its neighborhoods are also hot, and it is a wonderful thing. And the reason that it is hot is very interesting because of governmental programs. The government gets reimbursed 97% for losses. So essentially, the government reimburses 97% for losses. They reimburses the banks, not the credit unions necessarily, although credit unions are caught as a result of the banks having to sell low. The government reimburses the banks. The large banks get reimbursed. So large banks really do not particularly care what they sell the properties for. In other words, if a property has a $100,000 mortgage, a potential $60,000 comp, if you search the comps, the banks is just as well selling the property for $15,000. And they do it every single week at the sheriff's sale, at the auction. Every week they sell property for 25% of what they otherwise could get. Well, that's a lot of knowledge, isn't it? Can you imagine that? That has a harmful effect on our community, yet at the same time it has great opportunities. The difficult effect is that it depresses prices all across Detroit. So in neighborhoods all across Detroit, high quality neighborhoods, the prices are depressed by 50% or more. And this is going to hold steady until the philosophy change. Now that might change come September the 30th because the two new current administration under President Trump is not likely to want to extend Obama's programs, but at the same time is beneficial to his constituencies, the banks, and they have a lot of deals in the hopper, so it's not clear if they can just hop out of that situation. And since this was a confidential program, I'm sure they're not going to reveal to us at this point what happens. They just would stop it. So we'll know. We'll know very shortly whether or not this program is going to continue or whether or not it's going to stop. But right now, this opportunity is here in Detroit. And even if it stopped, prices are not going to suddenly rebound because appraisers are kind of tied to what comps are. Well, at least they used to be tied to comps. Right now, there's a lot of flexibility, and if you've closed a house, any of you listening to me have closed a house in the last 6 months, you know one thing. The appraisal came back for the exact same price on the purchase agreement. Doesn't that mean something that an appraisal would come back for the same price on the purchase agreement? We're talking about Detroit. We're talking about investing in Detroit, that whatever your purchase agreement says, there is a 90% chance that the appraisal is going to come back for the exact amount, not a penny more, not a penny less. And the other day I closed a deal and I asked what the appraisal was. I already knew what the appraisal was, by the way. The comps in areas around 45, 50. We sold the property for 65. So you know what it came back for? What? 65. And I said, I kind of knew it. And the agent at the title company said she used to be in the mortgage business and they want to bring it back because that's at the exact price, because that's the safest position for the lender, for the appraiser, because the lender would be asked, if it came back lower, the lender is going to want to lower the mortgage. If it came back higher, then why is it selling so low? So the best thing to avoid the appraiser getting questioned, sued, the best thing for the lender, the best thing for the buyer is to bring it back at exactly the same price. Now, she mentioned to me several times that long as they can justify the price, that's good enough. So the question is, if it came back for $70,000, appraisal would be 70. If it came back for 55, the appraisal would be 55. So here's the number one. Whatever the purchase agreement says it is, that's so. That's one of the things. And write it down. The purchase agreement rules. The purchase agreement is most influential. Now, when you're doing purchase agreements, you know, we have our own purchase agreement forms at Strather Academy, by the way. And I'm going to continually extend our opportunity for those of you who want to get further knowledge to come join us. You can go to stratheracademy.com and you can download our home study course for a very affordable amount. I think it's $400 for 6 books, and I'm not here necessarily promoting this in the middle, but I got to mention to you that our forms and things that we use might be different, and you could go and see the difference. But one of the differences is that when you do a purchase agreement, we want to do it for the amount that we want to sell it, but we want to structure it so that you don't really have any closing costs. How do you structure something that doesn't have closing costs? You just make no prorations, for example. And this is a great time of the year to have no prorations. You could have seller credits of 6%. That itself should eliminate it. Now, there's also some other tactics, because in most purchase agreements, whether in multi-list or wherever jurisdiction you live at, you have a chance to do your inspections. And if you don't like it, you can walk. Now, that's the third component of it. Now, this is not a class on purchase agreements. It's a class on investing in Detroit, and the type of purchase agreement you use is very important. So I just extend the invitation, and to get back on the subject of it starts with you forming the deal right, because you could have a fabulous deal. If it's not structured right, you'll end up putting a lot of money in and not really benefiting the maximum amount. Why take and try to do the lowest sale price? We don't want you to write a purchase agreement with the lowest sale price. We would rather for you to write a purchase agreement with a much higher sales price to stabilize our market. And maybe you could take some cash out at the time for improvements and things like that. I hope you get this, and I hope you understand what I'm saying. So what I like to do is to take and start walking down this area of value proposition. Oh boy, where's my, oh, there we go. We're talking about investing in Detroit and urban markets. Now, I like to just start by telling you that I'm directing this to Detroiters, investors, and realtors. And for starters, Detroiters, you know, I have a great philosophy about block development. Some of you may say, oh, this is a great house. But the question I want to ask is, how's the rest of the block? Is the block great? Literally, you would be very challenged or foolish to take a house on a block that was very challenged and then improve that house and not improve the block. Why? There's a certain philosophy we have at Strather Academy, and that is to buy a property that a single mom would live in. If the single mom is not willing to move there, if the single mom is scared, then you shouldn't do it. If a block that is solid, a block that the homeowners care about the properties, there's no abandoned homes. Because if there's an abandoned house full of weeds, that means that the neighbors obviously don't care. A solid, conscientious block, they would cut the grass. They would park their car right in the driveway so you don't even know that the house is vacant. Now, you may be able to tell the house is vacant by looking at it a little bit and saying, hey, you know, I think there's some paper there in the door, or there's a little grass growing up between the sidewalk approaching the porch or something like that. But to say that you got trash out on the streets and a bunch of grass growing is just ludicrous. That you will not find on a stable block. Block development is the most important thing. I've told a story several times of me going down Homer Street in Detroit. The first street was so bad it scared me. The second street was fabulous. The third street was scary. So in between the 3 blocks, there was one in the middle. I love the one in the middle. And those people at Homer Street, God bless you. And you know what? It was probably started by one lady who really wanted to take care of the block. So here's the message to all of you. You can change your block, and you know you can change your block. You can organize the kids to go and sweep the curbs and cut the grass, and you can take as a block club and charge $25 more and make and pay for it. As a matter of fact, you can officially, well, it's a little hard. If you got 66% of the taxpayers to vote for it, you can have it taken out of the taxes and put on your tax bill $25 per parcel for use for cutting the grass and keeping it clean, just for general common improvements. You can also take and deal with your lighting on your street and put cameras there where people on the block can tie right into it, and you don't even have to pay for it. Because right now, the city each year approves about $200 a year for patrolling for radio patrol. And they only spend $25 to $50. The rest of it goes to the city of Detroit, so they got to spend the money. So the police department takes it. But it's rather disingenuous that we as a community, we're uninformed that we won't take what is obviously there waiting for us. Suppose your block had a camera on it that you can simply take and now hit your computer and pop up, and you'll know what's going on. You'll put a sign right when you enter your street that said, warning, face recognition technology is available, cameras. So, the dope guys and all of them, and the people want to steal your cars, they would rather avoid your block because their license plate is picked up. Isn't that worth it? Just one of you can do it. And my Facebook friends who are watching me now, just one of you can do it. One of you could make a difference on your block. So block development is about, first of all, surveying your block, going to the land bank, getting all of the properties there that is vacant. Those that are in good shape, don't worry about those. If somebody want to make a deal, comes with the territory, go ahead and do it. You could lift your whole block up, and you would make a lot of money. Now, this is about double bottom line. It's about improving the community, and it's about making money, yes. I am a capitalist, and I'm also a philanthropist, and you can't be one without the other. You can't be a philanthropist without being a capitalist. And if you want to be a good capitalist, you can't be greedy. You got to share your money with the community and help others. In other words, you can get anything out of life you want if you're willing to help enough other people get what they want. And I want to help redevelop the city, and I want to invite the world to participate. But hold on. I got a role for you, but let's keep rolling. Detroiters, we talked about block development. We could extend that. Now we're talking about home ownership. It is an amazing thing with home ownership. We got, like I said, we got financing in Detroit that you don't have in other areas. One is Detroit Home Mortgage. They will loan $75,000 over and above whatever the after repair value is. After repair value. Give you example. You pay $20,000 for a house. You put $20,000 in it. You $40,000 in it. The house is worth $80,000 now. That's a good deal all by itself. The lender, Detroit Home Mortgage, if you sold that house, they would, go up to $155,000, 80 plus 75. Maybe the houses on that block are used to sell for $150,000, $160,000, but they have not selling there at that price now because it's psychologically depressed because of the things I mentioned earlier. So now you've got the philanthropists that have came to the table and put up $40 million. $40 million. And they says, we bet this is fake news. We bet that this is a fake value. We know that these values are not real because they couldn't possibly be. You could not have a high demand, low inventory, and a low price at the exact same time. You could have a high demand and politically and governmentally and regulatorily depressed prices, but it got to be a regulatory depression. You take your hands off it, and then it floats itself up to whatever the normal market is. Right now, we got the banks and FHA pressing our values down. Just look at these values that FHA is offering every week when they get ready to do auctions. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I know some of you saying, Herb, shut up. FHA is going to hear you, and they can say, this is crazy. Let us reevaluate. And I think that time has come, though, because our neighborhoods have not grown. This is an opportunity for you, though. All of you people in the world, and especially Detroiters, let's take our community and redevelop our community. There's a definite invitation I have to others, and I'm going to get there.
Hey, Herb, Taisha Hudson gave you a hand clap, and Dorian Harvey is watching.
Dorian, my main man, Dorian Harvey is the president of the Detroit Association of Realtors. And by the way, we're having a cruise tomorrow. Just show up at 11 o'clock. Dorian, I believe our cruise at is 11 o'clock. Will you let us know? Okay, everybody, back to the show. Okay, so here's what we're talking about to make sure we understand. Home ownership in Detroit is enhanced by the financeability of these properties. We think the better structure is to put a larger price on it so you can stabilize our values, allow you a chance to take cash out to do your improvements, and quite truthfully, it depends on how you structure the deal, you may end up with no money in. As long as it is within the regulatory and the policies of FHA, Detroit Home Mortgage, or other lending institutions, they're not going to have a problem with it, as long as it is within their regulatory stuff and their policy. You know, you can't go outside the policies. You can't put in the purchase agreement the homeowner, the seller's going to give me $10,000 back for doing the deal. Well, that's not going to work. You understand? And you can't have the title company writing you a check for $10,000 either because you're a nice guy. Let's get that straight. Now, that's not to say that there may be some repairs, you know, some violations and stuff that the seller is not have to be responsible for. They need to get done. That can result in your name being on a check, probably collectively with whoever the contractor is or something like that. And those things can be worked out. And at Strather Academy, you got a coach. You get ready to do a deal, you do the deal with your coach, and we guide you to the right decision so you don't make a stupid mistake. And I got to admit, some of our mistakes we make is outright stupid. So here's about this presentation today is about doing deals in Detroit. And those of you who are very, very interested, I want to pause for a minute and just reach out because I'm getting into flipping and income. When you get ready to do the deals, you've got to do a pro forma first, a pro forma, a projection of the income and expense, or a projection of the profit and the losses, and then arriving at the net operating income. What is a pro forma? It's a projection. Now, we have at Strather Academy this book, and it's about leveraging real estate. And it is called the Pro Forma Guideline. And in the book, it is strictly 100% dedicated to what I call a pro forma, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes, and I'm going to go over the pro forma so you'll know how to run a pro forma. And the book also, we have it digitally, and we have our pro forma and the book together. Or you could just download the pro forma and just download the book. And for right now, I believe that amount is $60. Can you imagine to getting the pro forma to show you how to structure a transaction, learning how to do that for $60? That's pretty cool, isn't it? So I want to take in, the reason is that it's not that I think my information is only worth $60. Of course I think it's probably worth $2,500 or more. If I showed you how to structure a deal and you pull out $25,000, you'd ask me, how much is that worth to you? But better yet, I ask, how much is it worth to the community? It's worth a lot to me because, you know, none of us are going to get out of this deal alive. And, you know, I've had a very, very good life, and, you know, but my days ahead of me is much shorter than my days behind. And the only way that I can succeed, the only way that my legacy will live on, if I take out what's in my head and put in your head. Because many of you are listening, especially the young people, you're going to take this to a time and place that I will not see. Let's leave that right there. So I would like to invite you to the good life of getting involved and getting lost and helping people, getting lost and helping your community, getting lost and investing in yourself and getting the knowledge while you still can. I urge you to do it. And Detroiters that are listening, I particularly urge you to do it. One pastor said Detroiters is like walking around like they've been shot with Novocaine in some sense, especially the existing Detroiters that have been here a long time, while you have millenniums that are moving in 40,000 eagerly, doubling, tripling the prices, willing to pay the prices and buying the homes that we think are worthless. They are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for them. And then there are complaints. Now, people all over the world, there's people in California listening now, there's people in Italy listening to us, or they will be because this presentation is part of a teaching program. and we invite you to participate. But I got a program for you. So I'm going to spend a couple of more minutes, a few more minutes, if you will, and we're going to talk about the performers and the flipping, and then we're going to get into, we're going to have some fun. So flipping a property is when you buy a property, you basically flip it up, buy it, fix it up, and you sell it. You resell it, and you resell it for a profit. I think the biggest mistakes most people make is when they do that, they do not take into consideration the holding cost. They said, I bought it for 15, I sold it for 30, I made money. But really, did you? Because you may have spent $3,000 or $4,000 fixing it up. Let's say it was already ready. So you ended $18,000. But it costs about 2% a month to hold a deal, anywhere between 1% to 2%. If you're borrowing money, and it's hard money, you're probably at 10 to 12%. Your taxes is run about 10% of the sales price, 8 to 10%, so you have taxes accruing. How about your insurance itself? That could kind of eat you alive. That could run you $150 a month. If that's not enough, how about the water? The water, that's $50 a month. How about the how about the gas and the electric? If that's not enough, how about cutting the grass? And then when you sell it, you got commissions, you got closing costs. Do you run a performer, do just right off the top of your head say, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to flip it? And if the house has been vacant a long time, please invest in it to make sure you run a snake through it to see if you have to change the sewer. Because the fact is, if a house has been sitting for a while, the sewer drive got a tree in the backyard, it grows right into the system. And you are going to be in for a very big disappointment because you're going to have to dig the backyard up and you're going to have to replace the sewer, and it's going to cost you $3,500 minimum. It could cost you $5,000, and it happens over and over and over and over again. Whereas while water is running through and there's no huge tree out in the backyard or anything, the chances of it is not that great. Is there a big gigantic tree that get the roots around your sewer? Don't forget, that sewer is a source of water for trees and things like that. Of course they want to take and tap into it. Of course, as soon as they find it, all kind of sprouts is going to come up and wrap around it. So we have to do our homework, and a performer does that homework. Now, if you go to, if you take the performer that it's only $60 right now, and the reason it's $60 is not because of the value, because I want to get you involved. You download that Performance Strather Academy right now. This is what you're going to come up with. Now, there's a flip performer and an income performer, and I'm going to take and give you an example of either one of them. But in the meantime, I'm going to take a break because I want you now to call up your friends, everybody, and say, girl, hey, man, get on the phone. Herb is on the phone, and he's fixed to bring you down. But before we sign off, I just like, for this break, I'd just like to reach out to my very good friend, Aretha Franklin. She's a very, very personal friend of mine. I often think about at her parties, I'm always her special guest, which means that I get the chance to sit at her personal table with her family to the chagrin of everybody else. Aretha, I just love you, honey, and the world, we're praying. Let's have a moment for Aretha. Thank you very much. Now, call your friends. Get online. You got 2 minutes. I will be back to you. Or go online and pull the performer right now so you can track what I am talking about. Pull it out and we'll do the performer together. And you can call and ask me any questions. Just call 313-444-9691. Or they can text it on your Facebook page. You can go to your Facebook page and text questions and monitor. Wow, you could go on the Facebook page and just text it. See, my man John is the technology quiz. You know, I'm an old dude that just know how to teach people real estate and get them rich. So you got the technology kid and you got me. I'm your coach. Be back to you in 2 minutes. Facebook, you know what to do. Get everybody on the phone. Thank you very much. So we're talking about a performer, a projection of the income and expense if you're doing a income property, and it is a projection of what the sales price is and what the cost is and what your profit is if you're doing a flip. Now, given we do not have a long time and there's an intense, highly detailed description of everything I'm talking about in my book, I'm going to flip through this pretty quickly and you can see what it is. And for my Facebook friends, just kind of listen on a little bit. I'm gonna, John, I'd like to turn my perform a little bit so my Facebook friends can kind of share. Can you see? Is that possible?
Yeah, that is possible.
Okay, so here we go. So we make sure we understand what we're doing. So just real quick, this is a 3 or 4 minute presentation, a 5-minute presentation on the income. So I've created this, and you would just put in what you call a cap rate. You can use 10% for now, but one day we'll go through. Let's say this is a 4 flat somewhere.
And Herb, to be honest, I don't know how well this is picking up.
It may or may not pick up that well, but at least they're part of the discussion with me. So let's say there's a 10% vacancy in collection. That's vacancy and collection. Insurance costs, we could say on a 4 flat is $600 a unit. Maintenance $500, management fee 5%, and do not have people managing your property. Manage it yourself or don't do it. Water, sewer per unit is $500. The gas, the tenants pay themselves. Is not applicable. And the electric, in this case, we're going to say is $125 per unit, which is probably a little high. Cap replacement is like stoves, refrigerators, roofs, carpeting, and things like that. Your operating expense growth is 3%. Interest rate is 4.5%. It's 360 months, 30 years. It's a 6.8% debt constant. There's no secondary mortgage. And you're going to borrow 96.5%. Okay, you found this 4 flat. All 2 bedrooms, they rent for $625. You figure, you know what, that's a little low. The real rent should be $750 for a nice 2 flat, or even $850. But let's just use $750 so we can, because I've pre-done this. So the first one, as you see, is all populated. It's $30,000 and $36,000 worth of income. So let's try it. So maybe downstairs in the basement, you got common laundry, and people use it. So you get $750 or $1,080 in year 2. Probably 3.5% is what we usually calculate. So you have 10% vacancy in collection. That's on the whole thing. So you got $27,000 effective gross income. So we have $2,500 taxes, which usually run about 10% of whatever the gross income is, or the effective gross income. Property, insurance, all these things are automatically calculated from the numbers you put up front. The insurance, payroll taxes, which is none, but you know what? You can actually take and put some money in for payroll, I would think. Let's just put in for right now $500. And what I'm suggesting is that maybe let's make it $600 to keep an even number. Because you may want to pay somebody $50 to look out after the place and all of that kind of stuff, right? So, so that's $600. Property management fee, the water is $200. The gas is nothing. The electric is $500. The normal capital replacements is $800. That's a good, healthy capital replacement, $800 a year. Legal and audit, which is necessary. You got, even if it's no legal, if you don't take anybody to court, you still got audit costs. Then you got $200 administrative. Marketing is $100, and other is $191. The operating expenses run $31.94 a unit, and that is okay if the tenants pay the utilities. Otherwise, it's going to push $4,000, but that's on a bigger than a 4 unit, because the truth of the matter is your cost normally for a unit runs $1,000 a unit. If you got 100 units, your payroll cost would run $100,000. That may not be so on a 4 unit because you're going to pretty much handle it mostly yourself. So let's look at this here. You now have $14,900 net operating income. And on the other end here, you have $19,882 net operating income. So if that is extrapolated to a value between $149,000 and $198,000. Let's use 180 as an example. Say if the sellers take 140. Now, there's a science to getting the seller to take the number and not saying it's worth 180, will you take 140? He's going to say, if it's worth 180, why am I taking 140? You have to get them to agree, and then you have to get them to agree that I don't care how we do the deal as long as I get my money, my man. And then you got to have a little bit longer story, which We invite you to the good life for us to really make sure that you understand this. And by the way, we have a webinar as part of our series and offer to you today. And I'm going to make it just, I believe, $199. Is that what the webinar is, John? I think it's $199, and you get everything, including the trip on the boat. Okay, and what John is going to tell me what it is.
And also, Herb, let your Facebook friends know that they can go on to the mastermind and they can watch your actual performer and this actual radio show.
So they could go to SA Real Estate app, join that, and then join the mastermind, and they can watch everything right there too.
And actually see the performer that you're doing right now.
And see the performer that I'm doing right now. So you can see the performer. Just go to SA Real Estate app, and it says Mastermind Group. Hit Mastermind Group.
We'll have it loaded up tomorrow.
Tomorrow, or can they do that now, John?
No, they can't do it right now. We'll have it loaded up because we have to edit this.
In order for you to see what I'm doing right now on live time, you have to you can go to StratherAcademy.com, right, John?
No, we're not. No, they can just hear it on Strather Academy. We're not.
Oh, you can hear it on Strather Academy. Okay. But if you go to DetroitTalkRadio.com, you can see and hear everything, DetroitTalkRadio.com. So it's $140, we're offering the seller $10,000 closing cost credit. You can always do up to 6% credit. Add repair, and 6% is adequate. That I can really say plus 0.06 times 180. The credit there really is 10,800. But okay, then you have retail repair credit, and you have commissions, which is normal. We have them at 7%. So that's 180.14. So I'm going to adjust this right here to make it 180. 18,000 take away 1,400 is 16,600. 16,600. The objective here is to make sure that the selling price equals to the selling price that's being offered. So the selling price is 180. The price offered to the seller is 140. Add 10,000, 6% closing costs, which is 10,008. Add 16,600 for repairs. Add commissions. You had $180,000. $180,000. Now, of the repair credit, maybe if you did it yourself, you can do it for half, and you could be your own contractor. You could do your painting and everything you have. So 16,600 becomes $8,300 that you would make as a result of doing the repairs yourself. You and your cousin, y'all go paint. Y'all go put the sidewalk in. You help them put the windows in and split it. So you have a credit of $31,000, 10,600 closing costs, $8,300 profit on the repairs, $12,600 fees for the credit. Now, so let's go over this. You got a new mortgage for $173,700. Now you have to live in the property. We've evaluated what all 4 units was worth, assuming that you pay the same rent everybody else pay. But in order to get 96.5% financing, you actually have to live in the property. You have to physically live in the property. That's not to say that you can't move out in a year. So your down payment is $6,300. Your closing cost is $10,800. That's $17,000. There's $31,700 credit right here. Credit to the buyer, $10,800. $8,312.6 is $31,700. That means you would take out at the time of closing $14,000. Now that's pretty cool. Take it out, $14,000. Now, this is a fast one. And by the way, we have a 4-hour webinar as part of this package.
$99, sir.
It's $99. Great news. It's not $199. It's $99. You can, Saturday is what time, John?
Saturday from 12 to 4.
12 to 4 o'clock, you can look at the webinar, and it will be uploaded as part of this course, the special package for $99. You can do everything that you want. Have a 4-hour webinar, this particular video, and get the actual material for $99. My daughter, who is now operating Strather Academy, she's not going to be exactly happy about this, but that's okay, Carmen, I still love you. Okay, so let's run through this flip performer real quick. The estimated after repair value, let's say, is $54,000. Say you paid $12,000. Your rehab cost is $7,800, and you list your rehab, everything out. If you want to change this, the clean out and demo instead of being $750, see if it's $1,000. Everything automatically changes at once. You see that? Your holding costs, Schedule C. You got to go in and you figure out your holding costs. What is typically holding costs? Your cost for funds, if it's 10%, your months you're holding it. 4 months we figured all of this. So the cost per month, interest is $250. If it's 10% and it's that would be $250. Then you have electric, gas, water, property taxes. So and you may, if you have to acquire title, you need to put that in there. Your title cost, your transfer tax, which is $1.10 per thousand, your broker's commission, all of that goes into your cost. Figure it all out. Because if not, you're fooling yourself. If you don't figure out your total cost, what really happens, if you cheat yourself, that's it. You cheat yourself, you cheat your partners, nobody want to do more deals with you. So make sure you figure this out. So your total cost is $28,129. Your gross potential is $25,000 less concessions to the buyer. When you say concessions to the buyer, if you offer the seller 6%, so I give you 6%, I give you some concessions, they'll buy your property first. And brokers, let me ask you a question. Do your buyers pay closing costs, or do you always increase the selling price by the amount of the closing costs and let them finance it? I suggest you do that unless they finance all they can finance and they can't go anymore and they have to put the money down. I often say money's free. Now, money's not really free, but the facts of it is that it's only 4.5%. That's still very, very, very low. Now, it was lower than that a year ago. It's 3.5%. And we don't know what it's going to be next year, but now is a great time to finance because money is still cheap. If money was 8%, it'd be different, but it's not. It's 4.5%. If it's 4.5%, by all means, finance, borrow the money out. If the cap rate is 10 and the borrowing rate is 6, which is the 4.5 plus the principal portion of the payment, and together it's 6, then of course, if you're going to buy at 10, but you could finance at 6, you could always borrow more money than you are paying for the property, provided everything else is there. If you structure the deal right, doesn't it make sense? Of course, you could take and borrow 100%. Be serious. Think about it. Just think about it. Just think about it. So here again, you would have made, in this case, $22,000 on the $54,000. That's good. But at least you included your $8,000 holding cost. Your repairs for $8,000, you paid $12,000, that's $20,000. You sold it for $54,000. No, you didn't make $34,000. You made $22,000 because you took into consideration your holding costs and your costs and your concessions. You could do a quick flip and not do anything. Find the property, flip it to somebody for say $20,000, take away the commissions, make $6,600. Those of you who don't have cash right now, then just find the property and flip it. If you want to know how to flip, call me, 313-444-9691 if you got something. And listen, don't bring me in a lot of little bitty deals, please. I'm looking for apartment buildings, and if you got some of those, fine, but I'm not looking to do a lot of rehab. I believe that by the time you finish doing rehab, you could buy 5 or 6 things. So although I'm showing you the cost on the rehab, and I do encourage some of you to do rehab, I think that you got to assess your skills and ability. And my skills is teaching you and running an office, and I don't have time to monitor one particular person doing a rehab for me. So I kind of stay away from them. That's not to say I wouldn't joint venture with some of you. And then the quick approach to the property on the income value. $850 rent, $10,200 a year, taxes $1,800, insurance $1,100, maintenance $1,100, total operating expense $4,000. That's about right, $4,000 a unit. The NOI, or net operating income, is 62.5. At a 10% cap, is worth $62,000. So we're saying that the net income is worth more than the comparable sales approach, and that's right. That's the first time probably in our lifetime that income is worth more than residential sales. Don't forget, for most of our life, you could convert an apartment to a condo. If what is I'm saying is true is the opposite, you convert a condo to an apartment. Can you imagine that the apartment is more valuable than the condo? Wow, you know, it is really something. Things are completely upside down. So this is the quick study on the performer, but there's an intense 4-hour study that I wasn't running real fast and talking real fast. John, how much more time I have?
You have about 20 more minutes.
I have 20 more minutes. Now, I want to get on and talk right now to, I've spent the majority of the time with the homeowners, as I should. Now, I want to talk to the investors and I want to talk to the realtors. I'm always talking to the realtors. You don't want your investors and your customers to know more than you. So I'm going to reach out to people who want to become part of DAR. As far as DAR's strategy, we're going to train you free. We're going to give you high-level education in terms of urban, in terms of doing business in Detroit. And we're going to reach out for all of you to join Detroit Association of Realtors. By the way, no matter where you're at in the world, you can join Detroit Association of Realtors. We have affiliated membership for anyone, anywhere. If you're in China and you want to join us, because we do communicate. Our website? DAR website is. Okay, yes. We're going to go. John, I think one of the things is that we could probably take a break too. Detroit Association of Realtors. I hope so. It could be DAR. I hope I got this right. Detroit Association of Realtors.com. There you go. Here we go. This is our website, which we're very proud of. And it's just loading up. So come and join us right here. Now, you can join without being a realtor. You can become an affiliate member. I think we need to.
Ben Carson's even a fan.
Ben Carson is even a fan of ours. Look at that. DAR partnered with Detroit on the Princess. This is great. You get 2-hour credit. Can you imagine that? You get 2-hour credit and take a cruise at the same time. Now, let me restate. Go on and buy the Performer now. If you take the course now, which is $400, I mean, that's the home study course that you can simply get 6 books, then you'll be really famous. But I'm going to give out 3 free tickets. 3 of them. They're free. Now, if you bought the home study course for $400, you get 2 tickets. That's you and your friend. And if you bought the home study course, if you bought just a performer package, which is only $99, then you would get the 1 ticket. But either way, and if I give you a ticket, it costs me $75 and you're paying $99. I'm doing great. I'm getting rich. Can you believe it? But I just want to see, are you willing to do it? Are you willing to become involved? You listen to me. I got that part. But are you doing anything? And listen, you would be kind of crazy to listen and then go out and buy a piece of real estate and not really probably do the first piece with me if you really want to learn all the secrets. And the realtors, I want you to join Detroit Board of Realtors. If anybody joined Detroit Board of Realtors and you send it to me and you say, hereby join, I'll pop for your ticket. So the real estate agents, if you join today, you can come to the cruise tomorrow and you will be my guest and I'm buying the ticket. The ticket is $75. So we are communicating with a lot of people around the world. Many of them cannot come and join us. But here we go, everybody. I love you, and give me a 2-minute break and I'll be back. Just hang on. We're going to be talking to investors now and the realtors. Investors that are domestic and investors of the United States and investors are and investors in the other parts of the world. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I got a package here. John, you're telling me that my package, the webinar and everything is only $99.
$99. As a matter of fact, why don't you go right to the website, Herb?
Okay, listen, I'm gonna click it off. Strather, $99. That's really something. Now that's a good deal, I tell you. So what are you going to get? You're going to get a 4-hour webinar. You're going to get copies of the Performer and the disc, and you're going to be able to join SA Real Estate. If you join sarealestate.com, John, I'm saying that,
Yeah, let me pull it up.
here, let me just leave it be and say that please join sarealestate.com free. And then you can also get the mastermind group free for September and October. And if you want to continue, you can, and it's only $45. So go figure. I guarantee if you join, you're going to want to continue. Now let's get involved. By the way, could I have some order, somebody? Okay, so investor to flip investment or equity versus debt. Okay, investors in the world, we would like for you to become involved in investing in Detroit. What we're seeking is people who would like to take and invest and make available home ownership for Detroiters. Ultimately, we want to increase Detroit home ownership. That's our primary goal, and not just to sell the homes for rent as rentals for people to inventory and rent, or inventory and do nothing until the prices go up. That's not our goal at all. We want to strengthen our neighborhoods, and we believe we would strengthen our neighborhoods if we were able to get investors to invest with the ideal of home ownership. Now, how can you do that? One of the ways you can do it is simply to buy the paper. For example, if we go downtown and we bought a mortgage for $20,000 that was worth $100,000, we might very well take an agreement with the homeowner to sell it back to them for $60,000. I mean, if they owed $100,000, $60,000 is a good deal. If they were paying $1,100 a month, now they're paying $700 a month. That's a good deal. But we want to make sure that we don't put too much pressure on them, because if they lost a home in the foreclosure in the first place, what's going to stop them from losing it again? So we don't want to encourage them to overcommit. We want to have them a good value, and we give them a deal they can't refuse. They may rent it for the first year, and if they do not miss a payment or pay every month on time, they have a chance to, instead of paying $60,000, to pay $50,000. Or they have a chance to essentially buy the property on a land contract, or a purchaser's or a seller-held mortgage, seller financing, in other words, no matter what city, deed of trust, mortgage, however you want to say it, or land contract, depending on where you're at. But in other words, the seller, if they made all of their payments on time, never was a day late, and they pick the date out they want to pay, we don't care. If they get the check on the 3rd, make the payment the 10th. Says you don't want to be late, because if you're never late, you get a chance to buy the property back, and once you buy it back, if you're never late, the last $10,000 you don't have to pay. So it's $100,000 original mortgage. It went into foreclosure. You bought it. We would like to sell you that note under a 16 to 20% return. Is that good? 16 to 20%. You don't have to do any repairs. You don't have to do anything but collect the note. Now, you're amortizing out. I know that you're not price. Your equity position is amortizing out, but it's still 20%. And the good news about it, theoretically, you can borrow 100% of the money and then turn around and sell it to them. Did you hear what I just said? I said you could borrow 100% of the money. If a property is ultimately worth $60,000 as an investor, you could easily borrow $30,000. You could buy it. $30,000 at 6% debt constant is $180 a year. Is $1,800 a year. So your payment is $150. Add on $200 for taxes and insurance, if you will. Your payment is $350. You're getting from them $700, $750. You're making $300 or $400 without spending a penny. As a matter of fact, you can take and borrow the money, take cash out, and still make it. Now that's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. I want you to think about that. So we would like for the investors to provide cash, so there would be more liquidity, so there's liquidity in the marketplace. In other words, once a note is secured and the homeowner is secured, then we would invite the investor to come in and buy the note. Or if an investor would like to buy a property to do the rehab and to flip it and sell it we're very much interested in that. Now, we can't stop you from buying and inventory, but that's not what we're promoting today, and that's not what our great desire is. Our desire is for investors all over the world to participate with flipping to homeowners or to take and buy paper at 16 to 20%. If that's good news, then just call 313-444-9691. Better yet, just call me personally on my cell number, 313-407-4930. 407-4930. Now, so that's what flipping is about. Investment, of course, if you want to buy it and hold properties for rent, you can do that too. We prefer more something that's income driven, like a 4-flat is income driven, a 2-flat is income driven, but apartment buildings would be more applicable. If you want to buy an apartment building, that's good news. If you need a joint venture partner because you're a nationalist, you cannot borrow the maximum amount because you're not a U.S. citizen, we could help you there. I think the thing that we would like to tell outside investors is you should take and have boots on the ground and don't try at home alone. I often joke about my eyebrows. You understand? Do you see them? It's not many up there, is it? I tell everybody I was cooking home alone one day and burnt my eyebrows off. It's a little joke about that, if you allow me to tell you. My stepson told me he bought me some eyebrows for Halloween. And he said, Mr. Herb, he calls me Mr. Herb, and he says, Mr. Herb, here's some eyebrows since you don't have any. And when he told me I didn't have any, I said, I took his eyebrows and I went in the bathroom and said if I had eyebrows. And the first time in my entire life, I did not realize I had eyebrows. I didn't have any eyebrows. Can you imagine that? Why don't y'all look at yourself and see if you have any eyebrows and check yourself out? You understand? So I got to tell you that was really something. I said, so we could live with ourselves and we think we know ourselves, but in reality, we really don't know ourselves as much as we thought. So let's get back to the important stuff. Investors, don't try at home alone.
To tell the truth, you were cooking home alone.
I was cooking home alone and burnt the kitchen up and burnt the eyebrows off at the same time. So investors, don't be like me. Don't lose your eyebrows. So very simple. How do you not do that? Boots on the ground, partner. There's some good news. Which Way is Detroit is a book that we are finishing off. John, do we have a website for Which Way is Detroit?
No, not yet.
But if you're interested in our new book, what is it going to cost? $22.95?
That sounds like a good price.
Good price.
That's only for the people that buy it right away.
No. Everybody that pre-orders right now, we give it to you for half. If you like my book, just send in, I would like your book, and we'll respond to you, get your credit card number, and sell it to you for half. It's not coming out till September, but it's all finished now. John, can we send it to him now since we know what it is?
Go.
No, we can't send it to you now, although it's completed. Because the publisher, they got to get their piece of it. You know how that goes. And we do have a publisher. And I'm very excited about it. And the book examines every single zip code in Detroit and tell you what to do and what strategy to use in each and every zip code. It is certainly worth a lot of money to people who want to learn how to invest in Detroit. And it'll come with some bells and whistles, which is reliable companies, law firms, brokerage, management companies you can use that can help you achieve your objective, because someone in Australia may not know anything about Detroit. And we also, you can rely on Detroit Association of Realtors, which I am on the board of directors. And we're in partnership, Strather Academy, to tell people who want a standard of excellence, a standard you can lean on and believe in, then you can believe in Detroit Association of Realtors, even if you don't know me. You understand? And many of you do know me. We've done a lot of transactions, and by the fact that I got many of you listening right now and participating in the class, I know that you're with me. So the question is equity versus debt to the investor. Do you want to take and own it outright, equity wise, or do you want to have the debt and incentivize debt? There's a couple of stories. We have a property called Lafayette Park. Someone came in around 5 years ago. They bought it. In a matter of months, they lost it. In a year, they lost the project, lost $15 million. a gentleman locally here, a car dealer, bought it for $5 million. Last year I gave him an offer for $50 million, and he turned it down. So it's great to have boots on the ground, and timing is everything. And there is a lot of stories like that. There's a gentleman named Sam, I just say that, and I've sold Sam about 6 dozen properties. And he bought a property very recently for me for 494 units. Sam paid $8 million, and he has it on the market with an offer pending for $22 million. And I sold it to him less than 2 years ago. So there are great stories how you can make a lot of money, and there are stories also how you can lose a lot of money. So we're suggesting that you should take an expert with you, no matter what you do. Take an expert with you, and the knowledge is not that expensive. I'm not a school first. I'm a promoter first. Should I say a promoter of Detroit's interests first. I am an advocate first. So, and the other things, the educational things I use to extend that advocacy. So I invite you to become a part of Strather Academy. I invite you to go online and take the performer course and all of that for just $99. I invite you to listen to the webinar on Saturday at 12 o'clock. Now, some of you, this may be dated, so just go on any Saturday and listen to it because we're going to have it up. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can always reach us at 313-444-9691. And for those of you who got enough nerves, you could call me on my cell phone, 313-407-4930. I would like to say to all of my Facebook friends that are listening, I really appreciate you very, very much. I know you have a great advocacy for Detroit, and I hope some of you have taken me up on my offer and make me pay for your cruise tomorrow. And those of you who don't or who are not sure, but tomorrow you figure it out anyway. It'd probably be too late to get the free ticket because I'm sure that we've got a couple of them sold already. Well, that's good. And I'm sure someone is going to buy the other one pretty quickly. Just remember, we leave at 10:45 from where the Princess is, which is at just east of, just west of the Renaissance Center on the water's edge behind Cobo Hall there, between Cobo and the water. Between Cobo and the Westin Hotel on the water. So this is Herb Strather. We're signing off, and Realtors, without a question, you should be on, and you should join DAR. I am Herb Strather. I'm signing off, and I expect to see you next week. And to my very good friend Aretha, God bless you. We love you, and you will always be a part of Detroit. We don't know how much longer you're going to be with us, but if somebody just know Aretha there at her room, tell her that Herb Strather says she will forever be a part of Detroit. And I love her very, very much. And I ask all of you to send a prayer out for Aretha. Thank you very much. I'll see you next Wednesday. This is Herb Strather signing off.